Well, hello there, and welcome to another episode of Sing Together, Learn Together. In this 20-minute tutorial, we're going to learn how to sing Shi Luo Sha Zhou by Lala Hsu, Xu Jiaying. My name is Crystal Diaz. I'm a vocal coach at CSMA Studio and co-founder of the Online Vocal Academy. Now, this video is brought to you by the Online Vocal Academy, which provides vocal programs that are convenient and self-paced and customized to fit the lives of busy people like you who love to sing popular music, and who want to go from feeling shy or frustrated with the way that their voice sounds to becoming confident vocal performers, whether on stage or in the karaoke room. So if this does sound like you, then you're going to love my free 3-minute vocal assessment quiz that's going to give you a vocal practice plan as well as a guided vocal exercise routine that is customized to your voice. So if this sounds interesting to you, be sure to check out quiz.onlinevocalacademy.com. All right, so let's dive into the training. So I love this song. I've always enjoyed singing this song, and I've had the honor of performing the song quite recently, last month, when I was invited to be a guest on Harry Ng's weekly live stream, Facebook live stream show that he does. Harry Ng is a popular music producer based here in Hong Kong, and so this was one of the songs that I had performed during the show that I was a guest on. And I've also taught this song multiple times. So how I'm going to do this is I'm going to share my screen with you, and we're just going to go listen through the song together. And any points where any tips and guidance that I'll be giving you throughout will be as if you are a student of mine. Of course, the only difference is that I can't hear you implement these tips and tools that I will be suggesting as we listen to the song. So you're going to have to be your own best judge when it comes to how your voice sounds and feels. And I encourage you to take these tips and really try it out in your voice, but use it as a way of discovering your vocal instrument and as a way of becoming more aware of how you are singing, so that you are not taking things to an extreme. Always listen to your own voice. If you're feeling uncomfortable or any of these tips, the way that you're singing them starts to feel unnatural or uncomfortable to you, then you should stop or maybe dial it down and not maybe do it less exaggeratedly. So you're going to have to be your own best judge when it comes to applying these tips and tools, but I do hope that you find them helpful nonetheless. All right, so let's dive into the training. Put my headphones on, and then I'm also going to share my screen with you. And of course, this video was taken during her live performance of the song when she was a contestant on I Am a Singer. So let's have a listen. Okay, beautiful. She's got a wonderful voice, and live is she's great live as well as on recordings. One of the things that is challenging for many of our students is to sing quietly, but in a way that is not breathy, and in a way that you can easily control and still have resonance. So one of the misconceptions of singing quietly is that you have to hold back your air or be really breathy in order to sing quietly. And actually, we don't need as much air as we think we do when we are singing a song, whether we're belting a louder note or we're singing quietly like this. In general, we don't need as much air as we think we do. the key is to learn how to balance your airflow and to sing it in a way that's efficient. So we want to be efficient with how much air that we are using. And we definitely do not want to be feeling like we're holding our air in. So let me show you an example of this, which I do see quite often when students are trying to sing subtle and trying to sing quietly. They'll do something like this. So they'll sing, Yo lai dao. It almost feels like they're holding their breath and trying to be very, very careful with their sound, right? And that actually can make you lose a lot of air. You leak a lot of air, and you're not being efficient with your air if you're singing it this way. It's much better to think of it as telling a story and to allow the air to flow. The air has to flow, so we cannot be holding it all back because we're afraid that we're going to lose all our air in the first few lines. Right, we're afraid that we're going to run out of air, and we're trying to be quiet. So yo lie down. That's not going to make you feel comfortable or balanced. But definitely want to be flowing, just like what she's doing here. Yo lie down, gang ko. You see her air is not stopping within her phrase. She's continuing that flow in a very balanced way. So that's tip number 1. Make sure your air is flowing. Now, tip number 2 is I mentioned before that you shouldn't be using that much air. So how does that work, right? How do we keep the air flowing but still not use that much? Well, it comes down to understanding this concept called core sound. This is very important. It's one of the big things that we teach in the Online Vocal Academy is how do you have that solid tone? How do you have that basic solid tone in your singing? And so, for example, I've taught this in previous videos. The core sound is essentially that basic balanced tone that is connected from the low to the high throughout the middle. You can see as I'm moving through my range, I'm keeping everything balanced and even. That's my core sound. I'm keeping everything balanced and even, and there's no breaks in the middle, and there's no sudden puffs of air. I'm not suddenly letting it go like coming in and out of volume like that. So that is the basic quality of sound that every vocal student has to learn how to discover in their own voice. And so one quick way that you can try doing this is literally just to say the words. 又来到这个港口. I'm probably saying the tones wrong, but you'll see what I mean. If you start to speak through it in a conversational way, but not like this, 又来到这个港口, not separate, but in a way that flows melodically, then you're going to be able to practice those two things, which is the constant flow of air, because you're connecting it through 又来到这个港口. Right, so I'm flowing it through, I'm connecting all the words through. That's one. And secondly, I'm not suddenly going breathy, nor am I suddenly going too loud. I'm maintaining that even balance of tone all the way through. So I hope that little tip helps you, and you can see when she's doing this, she's doing it very easily and very well in a way that it's just like she's telling a story, which is exactly what you want, right? All right, let's keep going. 随时间的海浪漂流，我用力张开双手，拥抱那么多起起落落，想念的还是你望着我的眼波。Okay, so this is kind of similar to what I was mentioning before, and you can hear it, I think, more clearly in this second verse, is her ability to really phrase out her song line by line, phrase by phrase. So she doesn't take a breath, nor does her air. If we just think about airflow, and we're imagining how her air is flowing as she's singing, she doesn't break it up until she needs to, which is at the end of her phrase. So one of the most common things, another common thing that I find in students is, especially when they're trying to sing softer, in a softer dynamic, but still with resonance and still with the ability to control the voice and control the tone, is things like this. Let's listen. I'm going to go back a little bit and have you let you listen to that again, and listen to how she is connecting her words phrase by phrase. Okay, let's do that again. So even there, we just break that little line down. 随时间的, even though she paused after 的, 随时间的海, but she doesn't, her air doesn't stop. That doesn't feel like it suddenly has an abrupt stop. So as opposed to something like 随时间的海浪漂流. And I know I'm being exaggerated here, but I do that so you know what I mean. I do hear students, this is one of the things that we tackle a lot in our lessons, is that students will break up their phrases subconsciously. 随时间的海浪漂流. And we're trying to sing each word syllable by syllable, when we cannot do that in singing. We have to learn to flow. We have to learn to can maintain that constant movement of sound throughout our phrases. And she does it very, very well. Even if you look at, we really break it down. 随时, 随时. It doesn't go 随时间. She blends it through her phrases. And she does that throughout the song. And this is absolutely something that you can learn how to do with practice and guidance, of course, but this is something that we teach all of our students how to do, and it makes such a huge difference in singing, especially when it comes to Cantonese Mandarin songs. Okay, let's keep listening. See the connecting? Yeah, very controlled intake of air here. Okay, so the one thing I want to point out here is the chorus. She's still maintaining that same dynamics, right? But you can feel that there's a little bit of tonal coloring coming through. So I often talk about tones acoustic tone in terms of coloring. So if we think, okay, let's think of as if it were colors. She's going into a lighter coloring quality, lighter tonal quality when she says "bu." But when she comes down on that phrase, 不是一定, she leans in or presses in. She leans into her instrument a little bit more, which creates that nice more solid sound, more fronted, solid sound as she's coming in. I know that that's a subtle thing, but those subtle things is what makes a song characteristic. It's how people will feel that you're being expressive as a singer. Because she could have just gone, 不是一定要你回来, and that's just very even all the way through. But she's not. She's actually, she's going light here, very, very heady. A lot of head tone coloring, that lighter head tone coloring there. But then she comes down and she blends it into a more fronted, solid, resonant sound quality, which makes the whole thing very, very, has a nice variety to it. Right? Let's listen to that again. And that she's doing that by leaning into her vocal instrument as she's coming down. Yeah, I love that. She's linking them together and she's leaning down into that instrument. And when I say lean, these are words, these are terms and techniques that we teach at the Online Vocal Academy. And essentially it's the idea of pressing down into your instrument, and some people will call it using support, but it's really that idea of that downward energy. 不是一定要, and I'm engaging all my lower abdominal support to sing that line in a very subtle way, but it does make a difference in terms of the expressive results. So it's really obvious when she does it here, so I hope you can hear that as well. Let's keep listening. He's leaning. Beautiful. Nice vowels here. Yeah. So you can, if we were to chart out her line of sound, her melody line, how she's singing, if we were to chart out her tone of voice as if it were a line, you can almost picture or visualize how every phrase has a line that's unbroken. So dynamically, the colors may change as she's singing the phrase, but it's unbroken. It doesn't feel suddenly abrupt, nor does she suddenly go loud or suddenly go break into falsetto, for example. She adjusts the coloring of her tone, but that line is very unbroken. This is technically very challenging to do, because in order to do it, you really have to know your instrument. You really have to understand what your habits are. You really have to feel. You have to feel the voice, and that feeling and that ability to hear how your sound is coming out, and that feeling it's a journey. It takes time, it takes practice and guidance, and it takes experience to do. So that's why when you listen to a singer like that, like Xu Jiaying, who's obviously had many, many years of training and experience in performing and recording under her belt, she's able to do that. And it seems effortless. It seems like it's so easy. But actually it takes a lot of effort in order to be so effortless. But it is totally, totally doable for you. It's absolutely doable. You just have to learn the tools that can teach you how to understand your instrument, and that can teach you how to explore your voice, and to bring you to a greater awareness of how your voice works and how you can learn to use it better. Okay, let's keep listening on. So I love that line of sound that she's getting here. So I'm going to skip along to the next part. Still nice undisturbed line. So beautiful execution of vowels there. Yi han ha. She opens her mouth. She gets a lot of backspace in there. So if you want to practice that at home, the vowel would be ah, and then you can add the H in there. Ha ha. But you want to get into a feeling of that backspace when you're singing this vowel. That backspace is really important, because if you don't open up enough and you don't extend back enough, han, you might start to do that. Yi han, or even that. It should be han yi han me oni. And I forgot how she does it melodically. She does a little variation there, but you get the idea. It's that opening of the backspace, and she does it if you listen back to this video, you can hear just how fluid that is, and how she really opens up the back there. So I hope that makes sense. Really explore that backspace in the vowel of ah. Okay, so I think she may have lost a little bit of control on one of the words beforehand, but that is fine. She's still maintaining her balance, but I think maybe her high note, it was a little bit lighter than she probably intended it to be, so it felt a little bit like it wasn't super clear where she wanted to go with that note. But that is so subtle, and she still pulls it off, and she does a wonderful job there. It's just something that I noticed. I could be totally wrong, but she does this part really well. Let me show you this part here that she does really well. That was the part that I wasn't sure. I felt like she almost wanted to crack there a little bit, but so subtle, and she still is totally in control of her voice. This stuff happens in live performances. There is no performer I've never met a performer, no matter how legendary they are, no matter how much experience they've had, that walks off a stage and is like, yeah, I nailed it. I've never met anybody that does that, because singers, we are naturally very self-critical. I certainly have never done that. Never walked up on stage and thought I nailed that performance. No, there will always be things that happen, and that is the beauty, actually, of performances. Is when we're in the moment, right? And things happen, and we go with it, and we enjoy it anyway. Okay, so the part that I wanted to mention is that. Oh, I know. It's coming up. Here. I love that part in this song because it's such a clear lean. And I was talking about a lean earlier. And when you really feel that in your instrument, it becomes such an expressive tool that you can use in all of your songs. And it comes from a place of emotion, but you're using technique to support that. And you can hear she's not just going, she's not just blasting it out. She's coming at it from a deeper place. And she almost you almost see her body moving downwards into that. And then you hear that reflected in her voice too. So it's really, really in her system. I love that part of the song. Let's keep listening. Backspace. Backspace. Big backspace here. Yeah. It's really easy to, when the music gets big like that, to lose yourself a little bit and to get swept up and to lose a bit of self-control in terms of your vocal technique. But she's very steady. In Cantonese, I call that ho ting. Ho ting. So she's really steady, and that's just that's an experienced performer. You know that they're not getting swept up by the emotions of the and the swell of the instrument and then suddenly lose control of their voice. She's very steady. She's enjoying the moment, but she's also on top of herself. Like she's on top of her technique. So then when she sings here and all the music is suddenly gone, it's so easy. And then you're singing with no music backing you. So easy for flaws to be highlighted, right? So easy for the audience to hear everything. She's very steady and she knows the music dies down and she just sings her chorus, and she's very, very steady on that. So it's really great execution, a really good demonstration of her experience as a stage performer. Nice. This was nice. The lean in the vowels, beautiful. Nice. Yeah, very beautifully done. One thing that I do notice about her as I'm watching her perform, I get the feeling, and this is obvious, that she knows her instrument very, very well. She has a lot of experience performing. She understands how her voice works. She's really good at at controlling her sound. However, I notice sometimes her high note does shift a little bit. So when she hits some of her high notes, it does feel like she's being a little careful with her placement of that high note. But then when coming off of that, when she needs to be strong, she knows how to make that strong as well. So part of me is wondering if she's just, because she knows her instrument so well, that she's trying to be cautious of her high note. And then when she needs to belt, then she belts. but when she wants to be careful, you can see her being quite precise on how she's hitting her high notes. So that for me, I'm not saying that as a negative thing at all. I'm starting to notice that about her as I was watching her, because I do that sometimes too. And sometimes I when I watch performances, I think this is also a natural part of performing a lot and having stage experience in terms of understanding your voice. You get to be really aware of how your voice is and feels on certain notes. And so sometimes we may over focus on that. So sometimes we can over focus on, oh, make sure that note is perfectly up there, and then I can belt the rest of it. So I'm wondering if that would be the same as what she's doing here. She strikes me as a very precise singer. And that can be a great thing, but that can also be a not so good thing, because then as a singer, it becomes challenging to really fully throw yourself into a song without worrying about it. That's a goal that I have for myself as well, in terms of being totally in the moment, and not worrying, not trying to make every note perfect, and not trying to make sure that when I hit the note, it's perfectly placed. Because that's not what singing is about. That's not what performing is about. It's not about being perfect. It's not about hitting all your notes perfectly. It's about being in the moment. It's about expressing the story. It's about telling a story and connecting with your audience, connecting with your listeners, and not over focusing on aesthetically, is this perfect? Did I belt that note perfectly well? I think that's beside the point. I think it's more important to learn all these tools and techniques off stage, learn them and get them in your body, so that by the time you are on stage, by the time that you are performing with people, that you don't have to think about that stuff. You can just be in the moment, enjoying that musical conversation that you're having with your listeners, and just enjoying the song. I think that's what ultimately all of us singers want to get to, a place where we're not in our own heads so much. But anyway, this is just a side note that I was thinking about as I was watching her. So there we go. It's a little bit over 20 minutes, but I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial. And again, if you like this video, be sure to like and hit subscribe. And hey, let me know if you have any thoughts about this video. Post a message in the comments. We do read all of them. And if you have suggestions for song tutorials that you would like me to look at, I'd love to hear your suggestions and your thoughts. And don't forget, if you want to get your free vocal exercise and you want to have a free vocal practice routine that's customized to your voice, be sure to check out quiz.onlinevocalacademy.com. That's quiz.onlinevocalacademy.com. All right, I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.